for Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Is there a motion to open the meeting? Trustee Rosenberg, second trustee Taylor, all in favor. Meeting is now open. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
to America.
of the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we move forward, we're going to adjourn to executive session to discuss personnel matters that are before the Board of Trustees. So is there a motion to adjourn to executive session? Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Patino, all in favor. Going to adjourn to executive session. We'll be back as soon as we can. Okay, is there a motion to,
No, you've already done that. If I could just enter into the record, it was a motion of trustee Taylor, seconded by trustee Rosenberg, to return to the general meeting.
got it? Okay,
That was an action taken in executive session. It just needs to be noted for the record and into the minutes. Thank you.
and just for the record, to note that trustee Rosa Asher is not here and she is excused for tonight's meeting. So I want to thank everybody for their patience while we dealt with some personnel issues. And let's move on to the agenda. And that first topic would be courtesy of the floor. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak on any object, any item, any topic, I should say? James.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah, I just want to say we have, I have at least received your emails, and I apologize for not getting back to you because it does look like it's somewhat of to me, a complicated issue. And we were going to talk about it, but since you are on the courtesy of the floor, why don't you tell us in 3 minutes what's going on?
Oh, no, I'm not going to be talking about that tonight.
Okay,
You're in receipt of a letter from November 4th asking to be included in the new hazard mitigation plan. Do you have that?
yeah, and I think we took care of that, right, Richard, with the hazard mitigation plan and Laura Lee?
Yeah, that's been filed. Richard
Yeah.
can speak to it.
Have I been included on the list? Has the Clinton River been included on the list?
I don't know.
Because I saw a document that cited the projects that were being considered, and the Clinton project was not considered on the list.
Okay. Well, I'll take a look at that with Laura Lee and Richard, and we can take a look at what
Right.
they're
On mute.
I beg your pardon? Do I need to unmute?
Not you. We were waiting for the village administrator to unmute. Richard,
Hi, Richard Lyons. Nice to meet you.
Same here, thank you.
Okay,
Just because something, I was not part and parcel of the development of that plan. That was really someone else's project, but I don't believe just because something isn't mentioned doesn't mean that it's not something that can be addressed at some point. I think at that point that your letter was submitted, the plan was either had already been provided or approved by the county, but we can follow up.
oh, great. Thank you, Richard, because I did get it in under the date line. I just double checked that. And I sent it to you, to Steve, to Jen, and to you, Mayor Rosillo. My other question is, how should I best communicate with the village board, with the mayor? How is it that I should best reach out to you guys? Is email and letters good?
I would not letters. Email is better because the letters take time to get to me. So the email is the best.
Okay, and if I don't hear from you, I should just assume that you got it and you read it.
And yes, and I will get back to you. But if not, just feel free to shoot me an email saying, hey, did you get that email I sent you last week?
Okay, great.
Okay.
We'll talk about the other issue at a later date. If you need any further look-see at it, let me know.
I think we will. And it looks like you did a lot of work on it. So I do appreciate the effort. And we will get back to you on it.
Okay, I just want to save the historic district. That's my intention.
Okay.
Does the
The
village?
planning board is looking at that, as is the building department, I believe.
Thank you, Donna. You look beautiful tonight, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Rex.
So do you, Larry. Does the village have a grant writer?
We do have a outside grant writer, yes.
You do? Okay, great. Is there anything I can do to help the village?
Well, no, I mean, you're doing emails is fine. And if we need your help, we will call upon you. So thank you.
But they're always looking for volunteers.
I'm here.
So you can
Okay.
volunteer for a committee and go to the nominating committee.
and then
Oh, God.
join a committee.
I mean, oh, Lord. I mean, oh, however I can serve, let me know.
All right,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Have fun, you guys.
Thanks. Is there anybody else, Henry?
Yeah, I'm promoting him right now.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, well, first I apologize. I'm not the most technically proficient person, and it says Elise Harris is talking. That is my lovely wife.
And
This
you
is
are?
this is actually Alan Harris talking.
And your address, Alan?
My address is 39 Rochambeau Avenue.
Okay.
So I am coming before the board tonight in my role as a board member of Focus, the Friends of the Wickers Creek Archaeological Site, and as a resident of Dobbs Ferry. The members of Focus are very concerned about the displays in Village Hall that have fallen into disrepair. For those who are unfamiliar, I'm referring to on the second floor of Village Hall by the back doors that lead to the parking lot. Over the years, labels have fallen off, photos have badly faded. And so Focus would like to respectfully request that the village return these displays to a condition that is fitting to both our village's Native American history, but also to our Village Hall. So we think that there may be grants available, and we know people who are interested in assisting with this project. So I thought maybe I would leave it there, and then if the village board members could perhaps look at those displays and then maybe designate a liaison, maybe we would get the grant writer who you just mentioned involved. But that's all I have for this evening.
Okay, that's a good idea. I mean, I have looked at it and yes, it definitely could do some upgrading. So we will take a look at that and see if there are any grants out there. So thank you, Alan.
Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Anybody else, Henry?
Yes, I'm promoting Patty right now.
So I'm going to say the first part of what James said and only one other thing, which is Happy New Year to all of you. Glad to see everybody looks healthy. And I think this is the last meeting for Richard. And while I didn't get a chance to really get to know him very well, I really appreciate the hard work he's put in and the attention that he's given to the village. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Patty. And it probably will be Richard's last, definitely his last official meeting. We may need him, but and even Christy says, "We'll miss you, Richard." See that? So, okay. Anybody else, Henry?
That's it.
Okay, great. Let's move to discussion items, which is to consider a resolution authorizing the interim village administrator to sign a renewal of the Drug and Alcohol Task Force intermunicipal agreement with the town of Greenberg. We have some backup from the chief, who sent us a letter on January 3rd, 2022, whereas he's asking us to approve the agreement, actually to renew the agreement that's been going on since 2004. And he pretty much outlines what it's all about. Richard, do you want to add anything to it?
No, I think this is something that's an annual renewal of that, and it's something that's services that the community is used to. So,
And I did speak with the chief by email, and he did confirm that this agreement is exactly the same as the past agreement. So he sent me the old one. I did put it side by side, and I can rest assured it's no more, no less.
Okay, so is there a motion to authorize the interim village administrator to sign a renewal of the Drug and Alcohol Task Force intermunicipal agreement with the town of Greenberg? Trustee Taylor, second, Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? And that passes unanimously 6-0. Discussion item number 2 is to consider a resolution authorizing the acquisition of a new rescue pumper for an amount not to exceed $770,000 from issuance of municipal tax exempt bonds or as otherwise determined by the board. So I know we have the fire department here. We have Richard and Jeff So let's talk about funding and paying for this thing. Richard, do you want to take the lead on it?
Yeah, so we had discussed this with the prior board, so it's also an opportunity for update for the new members. It's pretty cyclical that the equipment of the fire department has to be replaced periodically, and this particular piece of equipment has over a 20-year life, which is 20 years is pretty much the span that you can expect from these equipment. And we've actually started to incur some significant repair bills. So at that point, the fire department starts to reach out and figure out what's the most financial beneficial action to take. And in this case, it's to replace the equipment and get out from underneath the repairs. And also, ultimately, there is some department somewhere that would appreciate having a piece of equipment like this. So it's actually put out there for resale. So that's sort of what it's all about. And I'll defer to the fire department or the chiefs that are here.
Hi, how are you? I'd just like to thank everybody for their time and help in this whole matter.
Just for the record, you want to tell us who you are?
Billy Osborne, Fire Chief.
Okay.
Happy New Year, everybody. Haven't talked to you since. Yeah, basically, ever since we went to the board for approval for the money, excuse me, we had several meetings with the guys and Firematic company, who is going to design our rescue pumper. We spec'd it out that suits our needs, and for the entire village, everything that we need is in order. And we came back with a contract on December 2nd. We emailed it to the administrator and Laura Lee as well to look it over, all the legal, verbiage and whatnot, just to make sure everything's in order. And I believe it is. We said, reach out if you have any more questions. I know there was some last week. I believe Assistant Chief Giuliano reached out. I was down with COVID for 2 weeks. I just came back, so I know he was addressing some of them, but I believe all the questions were answered and everybody was comfortable with it. We originally asked for $775. We got it to $770. I mean, $5,000 is not that big of a difference, but every little bit helps. And basically, we're at contract signing time. So I could send that tonight, get that signed to get it before the February 1st deadline, before the price goes up.
Okay. And
Audsley, is there,
I'm sorry?
isn't there a piece of equipment we're sharing with Audsley? Is that not this one?
No, that's not
That's something else.
Okay.
It's the sewer jet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
that's DPW.
And Jeff, you can confirm that this is part of both the capital plan and the budget for this year, correct?
This is part of the capital plan, and this is to put the financing in place, authorizing or requesting to authorize bonds. We don't, this is a formal process. We don't have to issue bonds. Probably will end up in that position. But yes. So it'll go out over time, most likely, with the payout.
There's a 16-month, Jeff, so you know too, there's like a 16-month wait, and we don't pay until we receive it. And it's about 16 months out from the day we sign the contract to that. So just so you guys know, you won't get a bill for a while.
so Jeff, what I'm first doing is we're going to do a resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds for this, correct?
Correct.
Then the next item is to authorize us to sign the contract, right?
And the
Correct.
bond resolution is subject to permissive referendum. So that's a 30-day lead time. And the bond council has instructed the publication of the appropriate notices. That's just by statutory mandate that has to be published intact. So
Are you saying that we can't sign the contract, the sales contract yet? Okay.
no, I'm not.
You're not saying
No.
that.
No, I'm not. No.
Okay.
I'm just saying that the publication will occur in due course. Mr. Chuda is very familiar with the process of the bond resolutions and the publication, and the bond council is given appropriate instructions. So I'm just letting you know. This is also, well, we can get to that when we talk about the contract itself, but the bond resolution will be published.
Okay, so let's move this forward if we can. So is there a motion authorizing the issuance of up to $770,000 aggregate principal amount serial bonds of the Village of Dobbs Ferry pursuant to the local finance law to finance the cost of the acquisition of a firefighting vehicle for the village. Trustee Sullivan, second trustee Patino, all in favor? Okay, and that passes unanimously 6-0. Okay. So,
And as to the contract, I'm sure your chief can explain. This is a piggyback contract on a pumper of a very similar nature and a bid accepted from a Texas community, which allowed piggybacking to occur. So that increases the likelihood that you have received a competitive bid because they've met the requirements of both the laws where the bid was proposed and also in the state of New York. Jeff took a look at this as well. It does meet the mandatory requirements of local financing here and also the procurement. And I believe there's a deadline in terms of getting this quote. And Chief, if you'd like to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, basically everything, when we acquired the other 3 trucks in 2017, we used the same contract, the Houston Galveston contract. It's basically the same exact thing. Everything is in order. What Pierce does is they are a member of this contract basically so there's no foul play. People can't outbid each other. All these big companies basically are doing that now. So it doesn't go out to competitive bid. So they already are at the lowest thing for what we actually need. Excuse me. So basically we're just following what we did in 2017 for the same trucks, basically.
Right. They have a competitive process that we're going to piggyback off of.
Right.
Okay.
And the current price is good. The bid is good through the end of May, but the current price in the quote in the contract is good through the 1st of February.
Correct. Yeah, it's basically everything that that you need from the contract is good till May, I believe, May 31st. But what Pierce, actually their supplier, their steel and everything else due to everything that's going on in this world is their pricing is going up. That has nothing to do with the contract issue. But that's their price going up on February 1st.
Okay, so I know we've authorized you to do the design, which you've done. We now authorize the issuance of bonds. Now it's just a matter of authorizing you to sign the contract. So is there a motion authorizing the fire chief to sign a contract agreement with Firematic Supply Company to purchase a Pearson Foster pumper in the amount of $770,000? Trustee Casal, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? That passes 6-0. So now you have it. It's authorized. Congratulations.
Thank you very much for all your help, and we'll keep you updated as it comes along.
Okay. I also want to thank you guys for that heroic effort you guys did in the fire downtown a couple of weeks ago. I know that I think was a passerby just happened to see smoke. And,
Yeah, some woman was walking her dog and she goes, I think there's smoke coming out of the roof. And thank God, because the second floor in that apartment, they didn't have working smoke detectors. When we got there, we actually woke the woman up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Like I said, I want to give credit to my 2 assistants because, like I said, I was down with COVID. I wasn't there. I was listening to it on a scanner. It was killing me not to be there, but they did a great job. I mean, we were assisted by Ardsley, Hastings, Irvington, and they said it went very well.
Yeah, I want to thank all of you guys for that. And I do owe thanks to the other municipalities for coming to our aid as well. So, we've just heard in the last couple of weeks about horrific fires that have happened in Philadelphia and in the Bronx. So, these things can happen in a blink of an eye, tragedy. So I want to thank you guys and that person passing by who took the time to make the phone call.
Definitely.
God knows how many lives she may have saved. So thank you to you, the fire department, and to that passerby.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you.
Okay, you too.
I've been in touch with the planner. She's going to be joining us for the next one, but I do have a summary. We've been working with Trustee Patino to bring forward this new tree preservation law and the necessary revisions to your zoning code, including the Tree Preservation Commission. We have sent that proposed code summary over to Trustee Patino. He has provided both Valerie and I with comments from both the Tree Commission and also from the Conservation Advisory Board. But I can give you a high level overview. I can start to give you a high level overview of the old law versus the new law. Trustee Patino, I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add before I started the summary of where we are with this, with the new code.
No, I think why don't you proceed with the summary? I also have Matthew Scott Hansen from the CAB who would like to say a little something about the tree code revision on behalf of the CAB, who did good.
Okay. All right, and the code will have to be revised in a number of locations. You have a tree removal section separate from your Tree Preservation Commission section, and all of your zoning code definitions are in one location. So the copy that we'd sent around to the commissions and the committees has it all conceptual in one location. The biggest change from the old law and the new law is the creation of a special purpose fund for purposes of depositing fines and penalties from violations of this new code provision. Once those are deposited, then the Board of Trustees will be receiving recommendations from the CAB and mostly the Tree Preservation Commission on how to best spend that money related to tree preservation, tree replacement, tree education. You know, the gamut is endless in terms of that. So the violations will go into a special purpose fund designated for these purposes. That is a huge plus for the village. Hopefully, in the nature of your rec fees, you'll be able to use that to your advantage. The current tree law provisions only apply to tree removal associated with another application. So currently, the Tree Commission is reviewing, or the village is only reviewing tree removal in the course of reviewing site plans and variances and subdivisions and things of that ilk. This new proposed tree law applies to all tree removals that are outside any other land use permit process. So it expands the role and function of the Tree Preservation Commission and the building department in terms of oversight of this proposed tree removal permit process. The current tree law requires permits and review from the Tree Commission for tree removal on undeveloped property, removal of specimen trees or rare endangered species, clear cutting, and those kinds of activities are currently only within the purview of the Tree Preservation Commission. The new law defines a protected tree specifically to include standards, specimen, species, size, location, and those definitions will be now included if the code moves forward. They'll be included right in your zoning code, so it will be clear what protected trees are defined as in terms of the DBH, which has to do with the diameter above a certain height of the tree, and also with the species of the tree. The tree that has been planted as a specific requirement of site development plan approval or part of a previous replanting or restoration agreement. So they'll be able to provide, the Tree Commission will be able to provide recommendations and an opportunity to review these from within the applications as well. The proposed tree also says if 5 or more trees are being removed on one lot within any given 12-month period, the Tree Preservation Commission and the tree code will come into effect. So in other words, you can't take advantage of the fact that you're removing one tree at a time to clear cut a particular piece of property. The database will include 5 trees within a 12-month period. So it's very much strengthening the ability of the village to keep on top of tree removal, given the importance of the trees and given the New York State's insistence upon looking at the climate change and the state's impacts, looking at impacts from tree removal. So this expands the protections to that extent. The current tree law has exemptions which are pretty deep. The removal of any tree not regulated, the removal of any tree in an emergency, the removal of any tree that's been found to be dead dying, and tree pruning that doesn't damage. The new law expands those and specifically states a broader opportunity. So you'll have the basis with which to determine what's protected, what's an emergency situation, what needs to be done. It's quite comprehensive in the change in the definitions. So again, it's going to expand the role of the village in terms of oversight. The current tree law does not require a tree replacement, only restoration of a site after there's been clear cutting. So the restoration isn't defined. There's no parameters for the criteria for that in your current code. The new law, the proposed law, will require all tree permits, subdivisions, site plans, and any project that meets the minimums to replace at least 50% of the total aggregate diameter of those trees. So the tree commission will be reviewing tree restoration plans based upon the permit for removals. So this expands the opportunity for you to be sure that on-site and also off-site improvements are being made in terms of tree replacement and tree preservation. So the proposed tree will allow this from within a site plan or a land use permit process, that authorizing agency. So that would be you, the Board of Trustees for site plans within your jurisdiction, and also the planning board. And anything that is not part of a site plan, such as that I've just described, will go directly to the Tree Preservation Commission. So you can't get out of doing a restoration simply because you're not in front of a land use board. So the tree restoration process has been expanded to include replacement at this 50% of the overall diameters. And the current tree law definitions are changed, will not be changed, and it will remain the exact definition that you have, because it is quite a broad definition, and that should suffice for in terms of expanding the role of the tree commission and the oversight of the village. The current tree law doesn't have any provision for the removal of public trees. So in this case, much like the Complete Streets program, it will become the policy of the village for removal of public trees, just to be within oversight, not for approval or disapproval, but it lessens the chance of surprise tree removals without appropriate notice and knowledge by the locality in the vicinity, the public property, the private property owners, etc. So this requires some marking of trees, signposting, so everyone is aware of the need and the reason for the tree removal. So again, it's not an approval to have a public tree removed, but it's just to make it more transparent as the reasons why necessarily a tree would need to be removed in one or more or many scenarios as a matter of course. I know in the past, it's come to be a surprise event when suddenly a tree disappears. This would prevent that misunderstanding from occurring. And if it's part of a utility distribution line vegetation management program, then, we'll need to know upfront and remain coordinating with the utilities for whatever tree removals or pruning, and to be sure that they're in keeping with the requirements of the village, and they don't substantially cause damage to trees from, the pruning that usually occurs on quite a dramatic basis. So it's a much more comprehensive way of looking at tree removal, tree restoration, and it also includes this very important special purpose fund. So that's the broad oversight. And Michael, if the CAB member is here and would like to speak to it, or if you have further comments of things that we'll be incorporating, we're able to bring back the law. It's just when you split it up into the different areas of the code, it's not always easy to understand the concept. So conceptually speaking, that's the old law. This is what the new law is looking to do.
Yeah, and thank you very much for the summary and even just briefer summary for everyone. I don't know how familiar you are with the existing tree code, but it reflected or reflects a lot of the ambiguities that we have around trees. Some of us value them quite a bit. Some of us see them as some kind of nuisance, for better or worse. And so the idea, the big picture, is to codify their value. And it's not an uncommon thing. Many of our neighbors, Irvington, for example, served as a model for some of this code language. Throughout Westchester, throughout New York, you see these types of tree codes are quite common. So we're not doing anything very unusual. And as Lori Lee pointed out, there were really 5 very important steps here, right? Clear definitions, because there are not clear definitions now. A clear path to permitting. And as we all know, because we get emails all the time about this, people don't really understand how this works. So that was a very important step for us to take. A set of violations and fines and fees. And the reason that those are in place are not to penalize or to collect money, but more to encourage people to find other alternative solutions to just cutting down the tree and putting something there. If it's going to cost you more money to take the tree down than it will for you to think through the problem and solve it in another way, well, that's a good incentive for someone to leave the tree in place and redesign their addition to go on the other side of the house or wherever it may be. So that's part of what's behind the violations, fines, and the other element is that as it stands, it's a hell of a lot cheaper just to take down a tree and pay the fine than anything else, because our fines are currently so small. And then the last two parts, which Lori Lee mentioned, is a replanting agreement. So the idea is you take something down, you put something back. If you cannot find an alternative on, the only place for your addition is on the left side of your house, and that's where you need to put it. There happens to be a tree there. Well, okay, that's fine, but you've got to put something else on the right side of your house. And if you cannot do that, if you have a very small site, you have constraints due to utilities or something like that, you can put money into a fund, and then that fund gets used maybe to plant trees in some village-owned property or something like that. So that's those are sort of the big goals, and I think we addressed that. The CAB worked very hard on this for some time, and Matthew Scott Hansen is here. I think it would be nice for us to hear from him. And then I just, at the end, I will have 2 letters, one from the Sustainability Task Force, one from the Tree Consortium, both in support. And I think those folks have also looked at this, they've thought about it, and they're very happy that we're moving forward with this. So I will get to those after Mr. Scott Hansen.
And Valerie's here as well.
Yeah, before we move forward, let's promote Valerie, the engineer.
The planner.
Planner. Engineer, planner.
She's not here.
No,
Oh, I thought she was there.
I thought she said 2.
Now she is.
There she is. Thank you, Henry.
Yep.
Okay. Matthew, why don't you speak now? Welcome.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, and Happy New Year to everybody. I'm representing the Conservation Advisory Board. We drafted this, as Trustee Patino mentioned, largely based on the existing for a long time Irvington tree code. And this really, we did it not because it's really our purview, but to help serve the Tree Commission, to help, put something under the nose of some local guidelines that are already in use that make sense because we have a very similar environment, I guess, to Irvington from that point of view. And we also do have some crossover membership between the Conservation Advisory Board and the Tree Commission, which helped as well to get that through. So we did also, we note that this is a draft. We have been looking at some further ideas that could go into this that we would put into the next step of draft, which could go for public comment eventually. But this is really just an introduction by us. There was a Tree Commission meeting recently where they also viewed this and discussed it at length, and they also had a few ideas to put some additional points in there as part of the draft. We also reviewed the Greater Greenberg Code to some degree, which as well talks about when it's a very large tree that you're taking down, that you might have to replant multiple trees because of the absorption capabilities of a large tree are different from a sapling, et cetera. So we're going to try to brush it up and have it really be in the best shape for evaluation and for public comment. But thank you for considering this and getting it this far, to Trustee Patino, who I know worked on it hard, and glad to see that we know he's worked on it hard for us too. So thank you.
Yes, and Valerie, is there anything you want to add to this?
Yes, so I apologize. I was doing double duty tonight. So I know Lori Lee went through the summary, and I know the next steps are to we definitely want to take a look at the code again and incorporate some of the Tree Commission's concerns, and then also meet with Mike again as well. There are some additional items that Lori Lee and I were talking about as well that we would like to revise and then bring it back to the board. So we think it's in a good position. And if the board is in support of those changes, I think we're well on our way there.
Well, I want to thank everybody. It looks like it's a really impressive piece of work, and I want to thank all of you for the time and energy you put into this, because it really does make us more compatible to the other villages, and it also makes us pay attention to, like Mike was saying, the importance of trees and giving us some clear paths and definitions. So I thank you all for this. As far as I'm concerned, from what I can see, it looks great to me, but I don't know if the other trustees have any other comments, but if you want to take it back, tweak it a little bit and bring it back, I think we're all fully in support of it.
Yeah, I'd like to read two letters that came in. The first one from the Sustainability Task Force. This was from September 16th of this year. It says the Dobbs Ferry Sustainability Task Force applauds and endorses the work of the Conservation Advisory Board to strengthen the village code to protect Dobbs Ferry trees. And this part's important. This initiative is consistent with the climate action plan developed by the STF and approved by the village board on September 26, 2017. Specifically, the CAP states as an action plan to, quote, prioritize the preservation of existing trees during local land use approval process. When this is not practical, require planting of new native trees. And they thank us for our effort. It's from Linda Stutz, co-chair of the Sustainability Task Force. And then have a second one, also from mid-September 2021. The Dobbs Ferry Tree Consortium endorses the work of the Conservation Advisory Board to strengthen the village code to protect Dobbs Ferry trees. We agree with your statement quoted in the Enterprise that our trees act as windbreaks, conserve energy through temperature moderation, reduce soil erosion and flooding, and improve property values. Members of the Tree Consortium fully support an amendment to the village code's policy on tree removal permits. Climate change is upon us. We no longer have the option of minimizing the importance of our trees. Thank you to you and the Conservation Advisory Board for taking on this very important work, and signed by all the members of the Tree Consortium.
Any trustees want to comment? Okay, so I guess the next step is for you guys to meet again and tweak it, and then when you're ready, you can come back. And like I said, I think from what I can gather, the board is all in favor of this. I think it's long overdue, so certainly have our support in going forward with it. And I want to thank you again, Mike, Laura Lee, Valerie, Matthew, all committee for the work that you've done without Mike's, I think Mike dragging us along with it, I'm not sure he would do anything. So thank you, Mike, for doing the heavy lifting, and you too, Laura Lee.
Our firm did assist Newcastle a number of years ago with updating their tree preservation code. So I'm completely familiar with the process, and I look forward to starting to incorporate the comments we received in the last day, and then coming back with an updated law which will accomplish the goal of tree preservation and certainly encourage people to think more about it.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Valerie, for jumping in. I know you're doing double duty.
Yeah, I apologize for
Quite all right.
coming in, but I'm glad that Lori Lee was able to provide the basics.
No problem. Have a good night.
Thanks.
Okay, moving to action item number 4. Is there a motion to approve the audit of claims as submitted and recommended by the village treasurer? Trustee Taylor, second trustee Patino, all in favor? That passes 6-0. So there you go, Jeff. You could pay some bills. Okay, let's move it to the reports. The traffic committee.
The traffic committee has not met since since my last report. So nothing much to say there.
Nominating committee.
The nominating committee has not met, is meeting tomorrow. So we'll update you after that.
Okay. Youth
You
service.
should
council.
call James Kibbard, though, or somebody should.
Youth service council.
They're having a meeting this week, but I know the top priority is to hire a coordinator. And Jeff put me in touch with a woman named Nicole, I can't recall her last name, from the Student Assistance Services in Tarrytown. And she already has some ideas. And so I have to coordinate with Liz and Jeff about how we do the notice. And I want to make sure that we're all on the same page about the position and its benefits and all that stuff before we put it out there and interview someone, because it's a good role. And last time we had some issues and then we ended up losing the person. So I want to make sure we just get someone in sooner than later.
Okay. Planning board.
Nothing major. The only thing of interest are possibly some of the issues that James Cobb brought up about 54 Clinton, but I know that's being looked at. It's about waivers or not, whether it needs waivers or not. But I don't think there are major issues going on.
Okay.
Waivers from the affordable housing?
No. It has to do with it has to do with 54 Clinton.
Got it.
There's something about whether or not the height and some other issues need to be waived, or if they are actually part of the MDRH district. So,
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Parks and Rec.
So they had a meeting, they had some facility requests, not surprising. So I think you all know the school foundation wants to host a large event down there with alcohol. So they're going to think about whether or not, normally it's a non-alcohol, and in the past they've denied requests for other groups to have alcohol. So I suggested, and I think they're going to work on whether they want to make a recommendation to allow that stuff or not. I think they have to reach out to Laura Lee about some questions with the legality of it. But they're still concerned about that stuff, and they're going to come back to us again with another policy on putting plaques in parks that I think we need to adopt, especially in light of, we approved one last meeting. So I know we had done it a year or two ago, or before COVID, and then maybe COVID just put it on hold, but we should probably approve something. So when people want to donate or get a plaque, there's a process.
Just to add something with respect to the school foundation, because they had reached out to me, which and Nicole, I'd referred them to you, but this event has been held down there very successfully in the past. There have been other events that do and have served alcohol. They want to make sure they do it the right way, which is one reason they're reaching out so far in advance. So hopefully we'll be able to figure out a way to make that possible.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. I mean, it's nothing about whether the school foundations, it's just that there has to be consistency. And if you allow it for one, or you're going to allow it for everybody. And they did turn down another not-for-profit not-for-profit hosting an event there because of alcohol, and they moved it to Memorial Park. So I just want to make sure we treat all groups the same. And so they'll figure it out with Laura Lee and then make the recommendation.
Okay. AHRB.
HRB has been meeting. I think the only major thing of note is that tomorrow there's a meeting between, I think Donna's going to be there and Michael as well, and Valerie and myself, and I guess the chairs of the planning board and the HRB to discuss the sort of integration of functions that's been discussed over the last several months.
Yeah, so that's would entail a major change in the way we do things. So that's very important. So I'm glad to see that you three are there and moving it forward. So that'll be great. And looking forward to the report next time.
Assuming that's a virtual meeting. I
It was
can
scheduled
coordinate-
as both, but I think it should be virtual. because
I'll
it's a-
coordinate on that,
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah.
And the CAB, Conservation Advisory Board.
I unfortunately missed their last meeting, which was on Sunday afternoon, but I think the most of it was focused on this, some revisions, some comments on the tree code. And just to go back, Mayor, you skipped item number 5, tree commission. I would report similar, as we've seen, there's a number of, quite a number of applications in front of them. And I think they're also looking forward to this tree code.
Yeah, I did miss that. And I did see it, noticed there are a lot of trees listed on the list in the agenda. So you're right. Okay, any other reports from anybody else concerning any of the ad hoc committee reports? Okay. As far as announcements go, does anybody have any announcements? All right, so this, as we've alluded to earlier, this will be Richard's last official meeting as the interim village administrator. Starting next week, our full time permanent village administrator will step into his shoes. I want to thank him for all the work that he's done for us. I know he's going to be available and around certainly for the next few weeks to lend a helping hand, and he's not changing his phone number, he told me. So he's going to be available. And I just wanted to thank him again for all the work that he's done on our behalf. And we'll be calling you.
Thank you, Richard.
Richard, you want to say
Yes,
anything?
thank you, Richard.
Yeah, I just want
Thanks,
to
Richard.
first of all, I just want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to help out in Dobbs Ferry for a year. It was a great experience, So growing up in an adjacent community, I've served a number of communities, and this is pretty similar in many ways to where I grew up, and I'm a Hudson River person anyway. So you got a great community, an engaged electorate and citizenry. And, I see only good things for you, your community, and really a great board to deal with, and mayor. And also, I just thank you for the opportunity. And it broadens my expansion of my life experiences. So I certainly, I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, having heard no other business, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Trustee Rosenberg and second trustee Patino, all in favor? Meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Right.